So now that we've created a local Git repository, we need to create a remote Git repository and then connect the two. The remote Git repository will be created on GitHub, and it's going to be the origin from which all code flows, to and from which all code flows. It's the origin. All right, so that's the game plan. I'm going to set this up at a different name other than the HTML CSS bootcamp because that repo is already running. And I already have that connected here, right? So if we look at, change directory into HTML CSS bootcamp and look at what's in there, I already have all the folders for this course. So I don't want to mess that up, right? That's all set up. So I'm going to just kind of review what we did in the last video. So I'm going to go back to my root, and then I'm going to make a dir. I'm just going to call this, I don't know, WebDog, right? And I'm going to change into WebDog, and I'm going to do a git init. Well, first I'd add a git ignore file, so let me go get that. And my git ignore file, I could grab that right here, and I have one there. So I'm just going to copy that git ignore file, and I'll go to C, users, Todd, and it's a WebDog. There we go. And I'll paste that in there. So now I have my git ignore file, and I can see that right now. There's my git ignore, and now I'm going to do my git init to make it a git repo, and I'll do a git status to see what's happened, and I'll do a git add -- all to add that to the staging index. And so now when I do a git status, it says, hey, that's been added. So I'm just going to come back up to the top here, and I'm going to do git add git commit -m adds .git ignore file. And then do my git status, and it's all clear, and I can do my git log and see my first commit. Cool. So I now have this repo, WebDog. So to connect it to a repo on GitHub, I'm going to come into GitHub. I'm going to go to my user account and go to repositories and click create new. Alternatively, you could go right here, new repository, same deal. I'm going to create new, and I'm going to call this the same thing as, my local folder. So it's a good idea to have your local folder be the same name as your repo name up on GitHub. I'm not going to do anything else here. So I'm just going to create that, and then it's going to give me some instructions. And the original instructions, the initial instructions, are things we've already done. So locally, we've already done git init, and we've already added a file. Here they're saying add a readme. We added the git ignore, the .git ignore file. And then we've also done our first commit. So the next thing we need to do is just do this, which it's going to git remote. So the remote is the remote repository. We're adding this, and this is the origin, and this is the one that we're adding, right? So this says basically at GitHub, it's this repository. So here I'm taking this information. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come over here to my terminal and paste it. And the terminal is my local repo. This is my local repo with its own .git folder. Now I'm connecting this local repo with my remote, my origin up on GitHub, which is WebDog. So I connect those, and it doesn't say anything. And now I should be able to, again, do a git status and see anything, nothing. And I should be able to do a git push origin master. So Control C. And come here and control, well, I can't do that. I got to paste. There we go. Git push origin master, and done, right? Push that up. So now if I go and I look at this WebDog deal, that git ignore file is there. And as I add files, so I'm just going to grab some files here and just grab those 3 files and copy them, Control C. And then I will go to C, users, Todd McLeod, WebDog, and I could paste those files in. Paste. So those files have been pasted. So now if I come over to my terminal, Git is tracking all the changes. So I could do a git status, and I can see, hey, there's some new folders there. So I could do git add -- all, and it adds them. And then I could do a git status, and it says, hey, these have all been staged and are ready to be committed. And then git commit -m, and first 3 folders added. Well, you're supposed to do these things in active voice. Adds first 3 folders, right? So there we go. And now I could clear all that out, and I could do a git status, and it's on branch master, and I can do a git push to push my stuff. And now it's been pushed, And I could clear that out, and I could do a git log, and I have 2 logs, adds git ignore file, adds first 3 folders. And if I go and I look at my Git repository now, all that code is up here on GitHub. My local Git repository is tracking all my changes. It's connected to my remote Git repository, and now I could push and pull code between them. So you saw one new command here, and that is git push, right? So these are the commands to connect them. This is just to connect to the HTML, CSS resource, right? And you shouldn't connect to that. I'm going to change that to webdog, right? Example, which doesn't exist, but that's what it should look like. I'll just change it to webdog. There we go. And then git push u origin master. And then after that, we could just use git push. And so that's like the new command that we learned. So I'm just going to put that in green. That's a new command we've learned. So that's how you connect your local Git repository with your remote Git repository, also known as origin, on GitHub. That's how you connect those two.